Quick question. Have you ever worked for someone who technically had the title of leader, but didn't actually seem like a leader or feel like a leader at all? Maybe they were smart, maybe they were charismatic, maybe they were great at hitting numbers, and yet something felt off. Now, let me ask you something even more uncomfortable. Have you ever caught yourself wondering, am I showing up as the kind of leader I would want to actually follow? If you identify as a conscious leader or you aspire to be one, you're in the right place. And I encourage you to watch this video until the end, because here's the truth. We're in the middle of a leadership crisis, not a skills crisis, not a productivity crisis, a leadership crisis. We've been using the words leadership and management interchangeably for so long that we've forgotten what leadership actually is. And no, leadership is not charisma, it's not confidence, it's not a title, and it's definitely not just telling other people what to do. Leadership in and of itself is the ability to influence, inspire, and guide individuals or groups toward achieving a shared vision or a common goal. Conscious leadership takes it to a whole different level because it's about the presence you embody, not the position you hold, and about being competent in traditional leadership skills. As a CEO, and someone who is currently studying consciousness and human potential at Maharishi International University, one of the biggest questions I get is this: why does conscious leadership feel so relevant right now? Is it a trend? Is it the future? Or is it something we've actually lost touch with and are now being forced to reclaim? In this video, I'm going to break down what conscious leadership really is, how it's fundamentally different from traditional leadership, why it's gaining serious momentum right now, especially in a world shaped by AI, and why conscious leadership always starts with leading yourself first. And stick with me until the end, because I'm going to also share why leaders who don't develop this level of awareness are going to struggle more and more in the years ahead. If we haven't met yet, my name is Mike Veny. I'm a CEO, speaker, and as I said before, I'm studying consciousness and human potential at Maharishi International University. One of the reasons I chose this field of study is that on multiple occasions, people that I trust have pointed out to me that the specific way I've been learning and cultivating my leadership skills, sometimes successfully, sometimes painfully, actually has a name. It's called conscious leadership. And today, I want to unpack why this way of leading isn't just helpful, it's becoming essential. Number one, what consciousness means in this context. So when we use the term consciousness in this context, we're talking about awareness, not some spiritual buzzword. And years ago, I was starting to work with my business coach, Lacey Anderson. And this was before people were using FaceTime and video chatting, Zoom, things like that. And we had both seen each other's photo online, and we were doing our sessions on the phone. So we had never really seen what each other looks like in a video context like this. And that's important to the story, by the way. I remember that she asked me to tell her about how I went about my day as a leader, as an entrepreneur. And I bragged to her about Rocket Boots. That was my nickname, because Rocket Boots woke up in the morning and poured that black coffee, started that hustle, and was completely focused. And this is how we do it because I live in New York City. And I'm going on, and she's just calmly listening. She's like, tell me more about Rocket Boots. And so I told her more things about how I was hustle, hustle, hustle person. And then she paused, and there was silence, and she asked me a question. She said, I'm just curious, how big is your waistline? At that moment, I felt really uncomfortable because she'd never seen me before, and well, clearly my waistline wasn't small, and why are we talking about my weight here? Like, what's going on? And she proceeded then to give me a very loving talk, a gentle educational talk about the effects of cortisol on the body and how running around all stressed out is really having an effect on my body. And she was right. It was uncomfortable because she was right. This started me on a journey of being more aware of myself as a leader, of being more aware of my thoughts, my patterns, my behaviors, my habits, the language that I use. And it's been a beautiful journey on so many levels. I went from being very reactive when I started out on this journey to being more intentional. And let me just say this, I haven't mastered this by any means. I'm struggling every day to make improvements, but it really changed how I went about the process of leadership. You can't lead beyond your own level of awareness. John Maxwell has a principle called the law of the lid, which is similar to something called Peter's principle, which means you can rise to the level of your own incompetence. There's a level that you get to and there's a ceiling. And it's important to have awareness around what that ceiling is. And it doesn't mean you can't grow past it, but it's important to know where it is. And I remember when I started out on my journey and I thought there was no ceiling. I was just growing and growing and growing and always getting better. And that's not the case. So it's important to have that awareness in your leadership. There's a limit. There's a lid. It's also about practicing this self-observation without judgment. Now, you can be confident in your leadership abilities, and you should, but also having the humility, and I mean real humility, because there's that fake humility that people have where they, oh yes, I'm a student of life or whatever, and they're really not. But being able to look at your weaknesses and your blind spots and ask uncomfortable questions to people, how did that come off? How did you receive that? In fact, I'm going to ask you right now, how are you receiving this material that I'm sharing with you? Please leave a comment below and let me know. It's going to teach me something about how I'm coming off. And that's not me fishing for a compliment. This is me looking to improve myself as a YouTuber here and a content creator. And it's about being awake. Notice I said not aware, awake to how you show up, not just what you do. I remember that there was a conflict that I was having with someone on my team years ago, and I had to have a conversation with them. So I remember talking with my coach, Lacey, about it, and Lacey gave me some great feedback, and she reminded me to think through what I wanted to get out of this conversation for myself, but what I also wanted the other person to get out of the conversation. So usually in the past, when I would have a conversation with someone, whether it be a sales conversation or addressing a conflict, I would think about what I wanted to say. What do I want to say? Am I going to be clear? Maybe I might even rehearse it. But taking this step further to think about the other person, what do I want them to get out of the experience, and putting it all together, and will my words be able to achieve that, get what I want to out of it, and give them what I think I want them to have? And that was a real game changer in how I went about difficult conversations. What do I want out of this conversation? What do I want for the other person? And how do we make sure my words line up to achieve both? This has been a huge point of growth for me, and I have a long way to go. I'm not perfect with this. I screw it up all the time. I fail at communication. There are things that I completely miss. But as time goes on, it's made difficult conversations actually more effective, and they've led to better things for everyone involved when I've had them. Number 2, what conscious leadership is. Conscious leadership is all about leading with clarity instead of your ego. It's about leading yourself first. And I want to share some examples of what that might look like. Back in 2019, I learned transcendental meditation, and I'm a fan of meditation. I encourage people to try it, find the one that works for them. And in the world of meditation, Transcendental meditation was kind of like what I would call the Scientology of the meditation world. It was the big popular one. It's not inexpensive to learn. And I wanted to see what the hype was all about. And then part of me thought it was a scam, actually. But I invested the money and learned it, and it was a game changer for me. Game changer. It's one of the reasons I'm actually studying consciousness and human potential at Maharishi International University now, because of the wonderful experience I've had with transcendental meditation. So for 20 minutes, twice a day, I do my meditation. And learning to put that into a morning routine was a game changer. And the way I start my day is so important now. In fact, if you look at successful people, they oftentimes talk about their morning routine or ritual, how they start their day. Back when I was rocket boots, I used to just wake up and start with the black coffee and just go. But now I'm going to say Mike Veny 2.0 is a lot different. I wake up and I try to be very slow in how I start the day. I make sure to hydrate myself with water first before I start doing anything with coffee, and do my meditation in the morning. Do that 20 minutes of meditation to center myself, to start the day grounded. And it changes everything because I'm not rushing into the day. I'm not starting off on a stressed out note. And the other thing that I do is I oftentimes go outside and go for a walk, even if it's just 5 minutes. In one sense, that's a form of exercise, even if it is a 5-minute walk. But I do that to allow the sun to hit my eyes. And I cannot explain the full science behind this. I'm not that good with that. But basically, when you do that, it allows your body to reset the circadian rhythm. And I travel so much for work. I'm in different time zones, Europe and the other side of the United States. So it's important that I reset my body's circadian rhythm to help alleviate jet lag, and so I can be at my best. And these are some examples of leading myself first. Another thing that I've been doing is locating myself. And what does that mean? Not with my phone or GPS, but pausing at the start of the workday. So we got the morning ritual, but we also have this workday startup ritual that I have. And I do this, take 1 minute, it could take 10 minutes. Just pausing and just checking in with myself. Like, what's going on? What are you feeling? And starting the day, the workday with that has made it so much easier to deal with problems when they come up. It's made it much more effective around strategy and making decisions. And ultimately, it's made our company increase its revenue because I've been in a better place psychologically and emotionally. It's also about being radically honest with yourself, asking yourself questions like, who am I? What drives me? What's the real reason behind that decision? I remember I had a team meeting years ago, and I forgot what the topic was, but somehow I took up 45-minute meeting. I took up maybe 10 minutes talking about some developments I had in therapy around my depression. And I think the meeting, we were talking about content around depression that we were putting out online, articles, videos. And I decided to take up 10 minutes and share about some developments with me. And I talked about it with my therapist after. And that's another thing that can help with conscious leadership, is going to therapy or counseling. And therapy and counseling, just so you know, are used interchangeably a lot, but therapy is generally a longer term thing where counseling is short term, but they're used interchangeably. Either way, it's an opportunity to put yourself under the microscope, and there's what you know about yourself and what you don't know about yourself and what you didn't know that you didn't realize that you didn't know. And through talking about this meeting with my therapist, I learned that the only reason I brought up that information about developments in my journey with depression was to draw attention to myself. And it brought up certain other things that were happening in my company where I look back and it was like I made certain decisions out of my ego to bring attention to myself, to make myself feel good, not for the best interests of the company, our goals. And so that was a real eye-opener for me, and I'm grateful that I still go to therapy and get to have these conversations. It's also about emotional regulation. We talk about emotional intelligence, and that's a popular topic in leadership. And it starts with just, in my opinion, becoming aware of your emotions, which a lot of times we think we are, but we're not. It's one of those things that you cultivate over time. There's no, I'm good at this or I'm not good at it. It's something you just constantly cultivate. And there are 3 questions that I ask myself throughout the day. One is, what am I feeling? The second one is, where is it located in my body? And the third is, what do I need right now? And so let's just go through that for a second here. I was doing this earlier. What am I feeling? And I realized that I was feeling really good because I had a really beautiful conversation this morning with someone, and I was just feeling good. Where's it located in my body? Well, kind of feeling it just in my shoulders. That's good. What do I need right now? Well, probably need some water because I'm about to start filming YouTube videos and running my mouth. And that was just the simple check-in. So it's not always just about when you're dealing with difficult emotions or what people like to call negative emotions. It's just simply checking in with yourself. And that whole where is it located in my body goes with the popular book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I think I got his name right. And we store emotions in our body, but learning to become aware of that. When I'm angry, sometimes I'll check in with myself. What am I feeling? Anger. Only to just check in more and realize it's fear, because anger and fear kind of hang out in the same floor of the house. Where's it located in my body? Okay, now I'm feeling it in my arms. What do I need right now? I need to do some deep breathing and calm myself down before I get on this phone call with someone who's about to make me angry. So those are some examples of how emotional regulation works with conscious leadership. It's also about courage over comfort. Last year, I had to make a decision that required courage for me. And it was courage around my ego, which sometimes your own ego is the biggest problem in a situation, right? And I decided to close my company, Mike Veny, Inc. And I realized one of the reasons that I needed to close it was the name of the company. I didn't like having my name on the company. It was making me make decisions that were based on me and not our mission, which was different from me personally. But the fact that it had my name on it, it was just getting confusing. And again, therapy helped me with the awareness around this. And I decided that the brand that I needed to focus on was Lovely Refinement, a women's mental health and wellness brand that I owned. And I didn't want to tell anybody that I owned this brand. I kept it quiet, actually. And I did that because I have masculinity issues and male insecurity. And I didn't want to feel judged by owning a women's mental health and wellness brand. And also a sense of imposter syndrome, like I'm a man, I shouldn't be leading a women's mental health and wellness brand. And so I realized, though, the reason that life put this brand in my hands was because my job was to be the leader, not the face of it. And by being the leader, that means setting up others for success. And it forced me to focus on finding the right team to deliver the content and to give advice on the best direction for the website. And so that's an example of courage right there. It's not the biggest example of courage, but it was a big one for me because I really was struggling with masculinity issues. I've struggled my whole life with them. And so to be able to step out into the world and say, hey, everyone, it's on my own website now, MikeVeny.com, that I'm the CEO of Lovely Refinement, and I talk about it loudly. I'm putting it on video, sharing it with you. That is something that I had to learn through awareness, through therapy, through reflection, and through feedback from others. It's also about presence as influence. And that's a term that's gaining more and more popularity. What does that look like? Well, years ago, I was playing drums. I'm a drummer by trade. And I was warming up in a practice room in New York City. I hadn't seen my teacher, Drury Mondalak, in over a year. and there was no window on the door. It was just a plain door, and I'm practicing drums. And keep in mind, as I'm doing this, I'm doing my assignment just because I want to show it to my teacher. And to the left of me, my phone was there, and I'm looking at my phone here and there. A little text message comes in, notification. So Drury comes in the room. He says hi to me. And he said something like, "Heard you practicing." He wasn't upset with the way he was sounding, but he wasn't happy. And I'm like, was something wrong with how I sounded? He said, "No, it sounded good." I said, "Then why are you saying it this way?" And he said, "Mike, I could tell from behind the door, from listening behind the door, that you weren't fully present." He could tell. And he proceeded to talk with me about the importance of being present and the energy that I bring into the room. He said, "Mike, your job as a drummer is to show up with energy so you relax the people in the room. That's your job. That's what makes you a good drummer." And part of me was just rolling my eyes and thinking, can we just get to just drum practice? But I remember taking that to heart. And for the next few weeks, tried to really be intentional about the presence I showed up with in the room when I would go to different gigs and rehearsals. And I remember that time period so well because I ended up getting so much work from that. Not from my playing, from my presence. And even nowadays, when I am engaging with my team, when I am delivering a presentation, when I am dealing with conflict, I'm very intentional about thinking about the energy that I'm bringing into the situation. Even before recording this video, I took a lot of time to think about the energy I was bringing to you, so you got the best experience possible, and hopefully you can feel that. And I'd love to learn about what kind of energy you're experiencing from me, so please feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. This is about feedback and me learning about myself. Again, I'm not looking for a compliment, I'm looking for feedback, so feel free to share whatever is on your mind. So this is all about leadership as a lived practice, not a personality trait. And that being said, I'm a mental health speaker. I speak in workplaces. I deliver keynotes at conferences about workplace mental health, resilience, and I also do team building with interactive drumming. So if you're interested in learning more about my presentations and my team building workshops where I use interactive drumming, I invite you to visit my website, and there's a link in the description for that. Number 3, how conscious leadership differs from traditional leadership. So how does conscious leadership differ from traditional leadership? Well, traditional leadership, we think of sometimes the leader as maybe even a boss. I remember I had someone on our team who would refer to me as their boss, and maybe that's just the language they use. And I always felt very uncomfortable with it because I think about growing up as a child, and this image of the leader of an organization is someone sitting in an office by themselves and an authority figure that you need to be afraid of. Traditional leadership is control-based, fear-driven, performance over people, and it's about managing the image, making sure you look like a leader and come off as a leader. Conscious leadership is awareness-based. It's about trust, building trust, cultivating psychological safety. It's about putting people first and also looking at performance. And it's about going deep within yourself. Years ago, I was working with a leader. I was doing work under a leader, and I had to lead a team, and there was some difficulties with my team. And so I went to the leader that I was working under and I said, "Look, I'm having some challenges with my team." And I told him what they were, was willing to listen and learn, and I wanted to find a solution so I could start moving things forward. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, "Mike, your job as the leader of this team is one thing, is to set people up for success and get the you-know-what out of the way. Set people up for success and get them out the way." That was a huge moment for me because I had never thought of leadership like that. I thought I was supposed to be in charge and be dominant. So again, it was a new paradigm for leadership versus what I learned traditionally. It's the difference between transactional leadership versus relational leadership. And charisma and confidence without consciousness eventually collapses. I know so many entrepreneurs and business leaders who I see them at networking events all the time. They come off as over the top confident. They know the answer to everything. And it's just actually a turnoff and makes me uncomfortable. But for them, it's the role that they feel they need to play. And sometimes they come from a culture or a background where they didn't feel empowered, where they really struggled. And putting on that confident face and stepping into leadership roles with a sense of real power and certainty is important for them. But it doesn't sustain, and it eventually collapses. It eventually collapses because you're missing that awareness element. And that's the difference between leading with authority versus leading with presence. Can you describe an experience that you've had with someone who you consider to be a conscious leader? I would love to learn more about it, and please leave a comment in the description and let us know. I read those comments and I take notes, so the more detail you share, the more it helps me and the others who are watching this video. Number 4, why conscious leadership is gaining momentum. So why is conscious leadership gaining momentum? I will put links to the statistics I'm about to share with you in the description. There's a burnout epidemic among leaders. Nearly 50% of employees report feeling burned out at work, signaling widespread exhaustion, and that includes leaders. 56% of leaders report experiencing burnout, with senior leaders reporting some of the highest stress levels. Mental health is entering the workplace conversation. 90% of employees report experiencing mental health challenges at some point in their careers. Nearly half of employees report moderate to severe symptoms of burnout, anxiety, or depression. Mental health is now consistently ranked as a top workplace concern alongside compensation and flexibility. And people are craving meaning, not just money. 88 to 92% of employees say psychological well-being and purpose matter as much as salary when choosing where to work. Employees who feel their work has meaning are significantly more likely to stay and perform at higher levels. Global instability is demanding adaptability. Over 75% of employees report experiencing work-related stress tied to rapid change and uncertainty. Leaders are navigating continuous disruption from global conflict, economic volatility, AI, and workforce shifts. Younger generations are demanding authenticity. 75% of Gen Z and 77% of millennials say they would leave a job due to poor leadership. Younger workers place higher value on transparency, mental health support, and authentic leadership. The collapse of fear-based leadership models is real. Fear-based and compliance-driven cultures correlate with lower engagement, higher burnout, and higher turnover. Psychological safety is now one of the strongest predictors of high-performing teams. There's also an increased visibility of toxic leadership behaviors. Employees in toxic work environments are up to 8 times more likely to experience burnout. Workplace incivility and poor leadership behaviors are strongly linked to disengagement and mental health decline. And there are some real trust issues, in fact, a trust deficit with leadership. Fewer than 1/3 of employees strongly trust their leadership to act in their best interest. Trust in leadership directly correlates with engagement, retention, and discretionary effort. Conscious leadership is a response to complexity. Traditional leadership models struggle in environments defined by uncertainty, ambiguity, and rapid change. Leaders with higher self-awareness and emotional intelligence are more effective in complex systems like the world we live in right now. Look, surface-level leadership training no longer works. Leadership training focused only on skills and tactics shows limited long-term behavior change. Engagement and burnout metrics continue to decline despite increased spending on traditional leadership programs. So the cost of unconscious leadership is now too high. Employee disengagement costs the global economy over $400 billion annually. Replacing an employee due to poor leadership can cost 6 to 9 months of their salary. Burnout-driven turnover creates compounding financial, cultural, and performance costs. Number 5, the role of AI in conscious leadership's rise. So, the role of artificial intelligence, AI, in conscious leadership's rise. AI is amplifying everything, good stuff and bad stuff. Technical skills are becoming less differentiating. There are things that I could do on AI that maybe only a video editor could do years ago. And now I can do it with a few clicks on a video editing program. And I know people go back and forth with the ethics of that, and we're not here to discuss that right now, but this is just an example of how AI is closing the skills gap on certain things. Because AI is amplifying everything, the human connection is so much more important now than ever before. The human connection is important. AI can't have presence. AI can have the right conversation skills, but it can't truly have empathy or feel empathy. AI can't reflect deeply and connect with its own heart and make decisions, especially around ethics. AI is forcing leaders to confront bias, decision-making clarity, and integrity. So one way of looking at this is, in this AI world that we're in, conscious leadership is the moral compass that we need. Conscious leadership is the moral compass we need in this world of AI. AI can process information, but humans must process meaning. AI cannot process meaning. The secret to success with AI, in my opinion, is learning to thrive alongside it, not just going against it or avoiding it. And conscious leadership is the bridge between intelligence and wisdom. So our company, Lovely Refinement, owns another company called the Training Refinery. That's the continuing education division. And you can go to trainingrefinery.com. And one of the things that I decided to put on the site was an AI statement, a statement of how we use AI, because I want people to understand the human side of what we do. I want to let the world know, yeah, we use it for certain things, and this is how we use it, and these are the guardrails around it. But I want them to also see the moral compass that I'm looking through or looking at when I'm making decisions around AI, when our team is making decisions around AI and how to use it. So this is why it's important in this world of AI to develop conscious leadership skills, because it's the moral compass, it's the thing that's going to be the glue that actually makes AI work for the greater good. Now,